Hello, Oracles. Oracle Tim here. Well, we had earnings last night. We were all looking forward to it, all hyped up for it. Tesla smashed earnings. But some of us are a little kind of in between about how we feel about the earnings call and the roadmap. Some people are excited, some people are disappointed. I'm going to go through some of the highlights from the earnings call, some of my insights from it, and where I see the stock going in the future. Personally, I think it's pretty awesome what we have going on and the stage that they have set for themselves in the future. And there's a lot of subtle implications that they laid out for us that some people missed, and I think a lot of analysts are going to miss this, which is why this is going to be an amazing opportunity for us as long-term investors. I mean, heck, the stock is down at the time of this recording about 1.5%. Again, the macro environment is really pulling the stock market down, and Tesla is coming with it. This really, for us, is presenting a great opportunity to add now, because when you add now during times of suppression in the macro environment, that just means that when we come out, Tesla's going to run faster than the macro environment, and your investment is going to magnify and multiply that much faster as well. So I'm just going to run through the long list of notes that I took during the earnings call last night. So Elon did state that Austin and Berlin had started production in last quarter. And we kind of saw this. We knew it was going on. We didn't know it was official production, but it's more like a pre-production production. They're just waiting to get the approval to actually start deliveries on the Model Ys out of both factories. Now, Berlin is going to start with the 2170 batteries, and Austin is going to start with the 4680 structural packs. So we're still waiting to get some clarity on, how that's going to be. Like, I've got my Model Y that is slated to come in November. I would love to add the induction wheels and push it up to July, because it sounds like Elon said that 2/3 of the eastern US are going to be coming out of Austin. I would be included in that, but I want to make sure that mine is going to be the structural 4680 pack. So once we get clarity on that, I'll pull the trigger and I'll get my Model Y sooner. And now they did say that they are still facing some chip constraints, not anywhere near what it was like in 2021. Seems like these are starting to alleviate. And a question was asked at the end about, are there constraints on the batteries when it comes to the Cybertruck? And they said that, they are not battery constrained at the moment. They are chip constrained. And they said once the chip constraints go away, the battery constraints will come into play. But that's where the 4680 battery takes effect. And whereas the battery constraint may affect all other manufacturers, because Tesla has set themselves up to produce their own 4680 batteries, they should not be affected by any battery constraints once the chip constraint goes away, which means that they can go full bore on production. They did state that they were short on production, and they've been coming up short on production for the last few quarters. And so, it'll be amazing to see what they can actually produce when they have no constraints. And now the guidance that they gave wasn't really clear. And they had listed that they are still looking at 50% growth. But in listening to the earnings call, Elon did say that they should be comfortably above 50% growth this year in 2022. So for any of you who are looking for what the guidance might be, comfortably above 50% is the guidance that they are giving. And they said, so hitting 1.4 million units delivered in 2022 is possible and most likely going to be coming out of just Fremont and Shanghai alone. That doesn't even include Austin and Berlin. So they basically set their baseline for production and deliveries for this year at 1.4 million without Boston and Berlin. So if Austin and Berlin are going to be starting deliveries soon and starting in March, we will have 9 months of deliveries coming out of those to just tack on top of the 1.4 million from Fremont and Shanghai. And Elon did say that they will be looking at locations for a new factory this year. They will probably announce what that location is by the end of the year, but no new factories obviously starting in 2022. We've got Austin and Berlin that we need to ramp, and then Shanghai with their expansion as well. But we should find out by the end of the year what the next factory location will be. And Elon did state that, while these factories can produce a lot of vehicles, when it comes to logistics, it's sometimes more cost effective to start up and open a new factory closer to a population that is going to be purchasing these EVs, because it'll save on the costs of, the shipping and transport. And so while the roadmap did kind of seem slightly disappointing, like I thought they were going to build up to it and be like, and here's Elon with the roadmap, Elon just kind of rolled right into it and shared it, and it was like, oh, nothing new. So for those of us who are kind of hyping up the night, looking forward to, hey, what's all this new product release? We got none of that. As a matter of fact, if anything, we got the opposite. We got the Cybertruck is not coming out this year. We have no new products, literally no new products going to be coming out this year. But Elon did state that, the earnings call is not the place to share new products that are coming out. They deserve their own product launch, which then leads me to believe that we will have new product launches going on this year. Similar to when we had the van and the Cybertruck and the $25,000 car that we had a couple of years ago. It seems like we will probably get product launches this year, but maybe it'll be like hey, here's a new product, we're slating to put it out in 2024. So I have a feeling we're going to get some of that this year. When and what it is, we do not know, but he did say that they are focusing their efforts this year on engineering for the Semi, the Cybertruck, the Roadster, and Optimus. Optimus being the Tesla bot. He did say that the Tesla bot, Optimus, is actually their number one focus for products for 2022. And we'll get into that in a minute. And someone on the call had asked, when will we see the $25,000 car? And Elon said, we will not be seeing it. We are not working on it right now. But they also laughed when the guy asked, you said we won't see it. So they are working on it. But Elon said the correct question to ask is, when will we quickly become autonomous? So that leads me to believe some of the rumors that we had heard out there that the $25,000 car is going to be built without a steering wheel. So if this is the case, they need to make sure that they have FSD fully down to level 5 before they produce this car, or else you can't sell a car without a steering wheel if it can't drive itself legally. So this is what they are working on. So I'm sure we'll hear more about that later. And so it's not that they are not working on the $25,000 car, it's just that there's other pieces that need to get put into place before that can come to fruition. So that's kind of down the road. And the first major piece is FSD, which is their number one focus for this year. And the other part for the $25,000 car that Elon had pointed out was they're selling cars twice that price right now as fast as they can make them. And, currently that is going out over a year. So there is no point in them focusing time and effort on making a car that is half the price and less profitable when they're literally selling every single vehicle right now that is over $50,000. So it makes no good business sense to do that. Obviously, they know that that won't last forever, so this is something that is in the works, just not at the current moment. And he did say that the Cybertruck, they will eventually look to be producing 250,000 per year, which was what my guess was. And the focus that they have right now is working on affordability, is getting all of this awesome technology into the Cybertruck for a price point that is affordable for people. And so that's what they're working on. That's what this entire year is going to be about. And so hopefully, let's say by Q3 or Q4, we will have more answers as to, here's the pricing, here's the release date of it. Again, we'll see as that year plays on. And now the exciting things for me that really were like, ooh, these are the light bulb moments of we're in a macro environment and we'll probably be in this environment for the majority of the year where compression of valuations are going on. We have a very compressed valuation for Tesla compared to where we have been in the past. Prices are way down. The macro environment is very much a pushing into a bear market type situation. So this, again, as I have implied before, this is where fortunes are built, because the more you can invest during times where we're down, the more that is going to multiply later. And if we start looking at the seeds that are being planted by Tesla right now as to what their future is going to be, that just means that we are going to come out of this even faster and stronger. So when we start hearing things like, energy is like kelp on steroids, because that's how fast this business is going to grow. They literally held back the growth of the energy business because of chip supply shortages. they focus their chips onto the EVs. So as chip supply shortages go away and alleviate this year, energy is going to explode. They are seeing this, and they are saying that energy and the profits and revenue we're going to get from energy are going to dwarf that of the EV business. So looking at how that's coming out, so I can see that right now is the time to invest, because we haven't even gotten to that. Tesla, from what I have seen from this earnings call alone, they have 3 new S-curves that are just about to start in their business. 3 S-curves. The EV S-curve has just started, but they have 3 that haven't even really begun yet. So energy is one of those. Energy is going to really start to ramp up, and once it takes off, it will overtake the EV business. They said that in the future, we should be looking at 1 terawatt hour per year coming out of energy, which is just totally insane. And the second one is Optimus, and this is what they had stated was going to be their #1 product focus for the year, which shocked me for sure. Many of us thought, hey, maybe it's the Cybertruck, maybe it's the $25,000 car, but Elon, took a step back, and I don't know if maybe a light bulb went off when he had his interview with Lex, because Lex talked about it a lot, but it was like, what can the Tesla bot do? What can Optimus do for the world? It's the labor market. Labor is what is going to drive our GDP. Optimus will literally revolutionize labor. And he did state that they will start using them in their factories first, and they should have a prototype out by the end of this year. So the way they would use them in the factories is just to move parts from point A to point B. Now think about it. If you have, a robot that can do this, that means that you can take labor and a human labor and have them do something more productive that this robot cannot currently do. So you actually have more labor in your force producing things faster. And these robots, don't need to sleep. They'll need to charge for sure, but they don't need to charge for as long as a human needs to sleep or get their rest or have time off. So these robots can be working much more and produce a lot more than we can as humans. So this is going to be huge, because not only is it going to grow their revenue on the top end once they do start producing them for sale, but it will significantly cut down their costs of production, which that just means higher margins in the long run. So this is huge long-term implications, and this is another one of their beginning S-curves. So this is kind of like, when they planted the seed with the Roadster way back when, that was like, ooh, here's where we're going to get started on this, but let's see if they can actually make it happen. Again, even Elon stated, this is what they're working on, this is their #1 focus. Can they actually make this happen? Chances are they will. They seemed very confident about this, but this is just the seeds planting, because I can see over the next decade Optimus really taking off and becoming, that. And what is the, total addressable market of labor? It's a lot, multiple trillions of dollars for labor. And so Tesla creating a machine that can take this and bring in revenues from it, that's revolutionizing, and that is an S-curve that is, again, going to dwarf the EV business. And finally, FSD. Now, they said that software is where you really want to pay attention. And they're not saying this lightly or anything. And he's like, this is where the business is really going to take off. And it seems like they kind of separate the EV business from FSD, because the software revenue that they're going to bring in, Elon said it's hard to even quantify how much this is going to bring in revenues, because every car in the future is going to have FSD. When he says when you look at FSD, you can't look in the rearview mirror. You can't say, oh, where did we come from? What was it? Let's compare it to the past, because it's moving so fast forward. You've got to be looking forward and just keep going for it, because the steps that they have, it's such a profound step forward that it's just going to revolutionize this as well. There's so many, revolutionizing technologies that we are about to go through in transformative areas. He said, somebody asked, hey, when are we going to get there where, as far as FSD being safer than a human driver? And Elon's like, well, actually being as safe as a human driver is setting the bar pretty low, because humans are not the best drivers. Some are really good and some are really terrible. He's like, so it's hard to figure out what the average is for a human driver. He goes, but we are creating a superhuman driver. And think about it. When you're driving yourself, let's say you are a great driver, you still can only see in one direction. And your brain can only compute and comprehend so much that you can see and hear all at once. Well, FSD is going to be designed to be able to see everything in all directions all at once and comprehend all that and make a decision faster than any human can make it based upon that. So we are going in this direction where FSD is going to be so much safer than any other driving out there. We will have much safer roads. Every vehicle will have this. And when it comes to the robo-taxis, he can't even put a value on how much these are going to be because it's going to take over all mass transportation. He's like, you want to go 10 miles down the road, you hop into a robo-taxi for $2 and you're there. He goes, you can't even do that in a city bus. So mass transit could go away. Parking lots would go away because all of the cars that people now have sitting for 8 to 10 hours a day are going to be driving around. And these vehicles will be driving all over the place. So traffic could be a challenge because there's going to be so many more cars on the road, but that's something else they can work on. So it's like, getting into all of this, the fact that they're going to have this many vehicles out there producing this much revenue, and those of us as owners can be generating our own revenue. So when people are, talking about why isn't the $25,000 car coming around, well, think about it. If you buy a $50,000 Tesla right now, and your car is going to produce $10,000 to $12,000 over the course of the year for you in robotaxi revenue, then you'll make up that, and your car within 2 years will have only cost you $25,000. Give it 4 years, the car's paid for from robotaxi revenue alone. So these are just rough numbers. We do not know what the actual cost of robotaxi revenue would be, of course. But thinking about that implication of, you could charge $100,000 for a car and $100,000 for FSD, and you could recoup that within the life of the car. So, the pricing that they have and the availability that they have to play with pricing because of the fact that, consumers will be able to generate their own revenue is huge. It's huge because they can, just be able to do and say, hey, they can say, what do we want our margins to be? We'll make our margins whatever we want them to be because our consumers will buy it because our consumers are literally getting cars for free because the FSD is going to pay for itself. And so from what I see is FSD is the third S-curve that is just starting. So yes, a lot of times we look at, when Tesla gives out these presentations like AI Day and Battery Day, and now this roadmap and earnings call, it's like, people are like, oh, it's kind of seemed like it was a letdown, maybe a little lackluster, didn't give us that, yeah, rah, rah, like we were hoping for. But if you take a step back, it's kind of giving us this rah, rah for 5 years from now, because that's how Elon and Tesla view everything, is 5 to 10 years down the road. They're not living in the now. They're doing the now. They're doing it. That's fine. When they talk about the future, it's 5 to 10 years down the road. And they talk about 5 to 10 years down the road, not like other manufacturers of this is what we're hoping to do. Tesla talks about it like this is already in the works. This is in the works. This will be happening in 5 to 10 years. So buckle up because we're going there. And if you're not ready for it, you're going to miss out. So this is how I take these calls. Again, this is just my own insight and analysis of it, but that's how I view this of we are going to be going to some crazy places in the next 5 to 10 years, and they just laid down the foundation and groundwork for it now. And if you aren't going to recognize it, then you're going to miss out. So this actually timing-wise is amazing during a macro environment situation where we have suppressed valuations, because this just means we have a much better and longer time to invest, to be able to magnify and multiply our investment later and get such a much greater return on that investment when all of these S-curves start to take off. And so I will go over the numbers. I have to put them all into the spreadsheet myself to really dive in and dissect all the numbers that they had. So I'll break that down and I'll share that in a separate video with you guys. This one's running a little longer than usual. So I'll break all that down, and then I will break all of this down piece by piece as well, dive into it further. I'm going to listen to the earnings call again, see if I can pick up anything that I may have missed, and I will break that out for you guys in more extensive videos for each one of these pieces for my insight. Otherwise, let me know in the comments below what you guys got out of this earnings call. If you have not listened to it, I will put the link in the description so you can listen to it yourself. I found it very informative. And if you're over on Twitter, I'm there at OracleTim1. Lots of the whole Tesla Twitter community, lots of information that they shared with their insights as well, so hop on over there to find out that info. Otherwise, thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. Thank you again for helping us hit 3,000 subscribers yesterday for earnings call day. That was really awesome, made it very special for me. Otherwise, if you have not subscribed, please do so down below. I will see you guys all later. Thank you so much.